Spiders. Some people don't mind them. Others can't stand within 20 meters of one without emptying a can of bug spray. Even right now, you're probably checking your arms and legs for any unlikely guests. If not, maybe you should be. Sit back and relax while I share with you 4 stories that'll make your skin crawl. I have a fear of spiders because of a hunting trip I took with my dad and my family when I was a kid. I don't enjoy shooting things. I'm not an animal rights activist, but I think killing for game or bragging rights and not for food is wasteful and barbaric. I had brought my Game Boy and they stationed me at one of the ground blinds so I could use the radio to tell the others if I saw any deer heading their way. I got bored as shit and got tired of grinding in Pokemon, so I turned off my game and started rifling through my backpack to find another. As I did this, I heard a strange whooshing sound that sounded very close, but I couldn't find anything. I walked around outside the blind, and as I came around the back side, I saw that the entire outer wall was covered in a mass of interlinked daddy long-legged spiders. I considered running like hell, but I had no idea where the camp was. My solution was to use my can of deodorant and the lighter from my backpack to blowtorch all the spiders off, because stupid, that's why. The plan backfired because I made the mistake of standing downwind of the spiders. The second the fire hit them, they all let go and flew at me. The entire wall of them. Flaming, flying spiders. I immediately started screaming and rolling around on the ground. I took off all my clothes and immediately phoned my dad on the radio and told him to come and get me and that we were going home. I've never sworn or cried so profusely in my life. I eventually went through therapy regarding this event, and now I just hate spiders in general and prefer not to be around them. I was about 5 or 6. My uncle owned a decent sized plot of land, 2 to 3 acres, complete with a big tree with a swing, pole barn with a loft for the cool kids who were old enough to climb the ladder, above ground pool, and a basement in the house with about 20 plus instruments. I didn't understand then why the ladder room always smelled like skunks, but with age comes wisdom. It was the perfect summer evening, with the heat subsiding after a day of swimming, playing tags with other kids, and the smell of barbecues non-stop. Looking back on it, I think we had ribs. Maybe that's why I don't like ribs either. Someone had a great idea. Let's pitch a tent, right in the backyard, sleep out there overnight. So, we got the adults to do it, with the help of my eldest cousin at the time, 9 years old. We put the sleeping bags in it, spread it out, and put a lantern in the middle, one of those electric ones. The tent was pitched and forgotten. We went back into the house for the next few hours and played Diddy Kong Racing on the N64. We watched the adults down in the smelly music room jam for a while. They gave us maracas. Someone had a triangle for a moment. Before that was quickly deemed a bad idea. Must have been about midnight. The 4 of us kids, bursting with excitement, filed out back door and raced to the tent. Kim, the youngest, tripped and fell. It was pitch black and we couldn't see a few feet in front of us, and this was before the age of cell phones where you could just whip one out and use it to light the way. After considerable trial and error, we found the tent. I unzipped it and we all jumped in. I zipped the door behind us and we all felt for our sleeping bags. Warm, cozy and content, the chatting began. You know, kid talk. Getting brave enough to use the word hell and not get in trouble. After a few minutes, I reached for my water jug and took a drink. I felt an ice cube, but I didn't remember putting one in there. I thought it was weird. I asked my cousin to turn on the lantern. It looked like a starry night on the inside of the tent, only the tent was bright white, illuminated by the lantern, and the stars were black. They were on the ceiling, on our sleeping bags, in our sleeping bags. The abject terror set in of what we were looking at. Spiders. Thousands of them. Big, small, medium, thousands. I looked at my water jug, and you guessed it, that wasn't an ice cube I drank. All at once, in the most cacophonous, shrill, panicked cry of all time, we made for the tent flap. Whoever the idiot who zipped it up behind us, me, did the thing where the zipper got stuck in the fabric. The eldest was trying to unzip it as hard as he could, and the sudden surge of movement caused the other occupants to scramble as well. They were dropping from the ceiling and crawling up our legs. The 7-year-old cousin decided to just throw himself at the flap, hoping it would tear open. It did not. The tent rolled over, and now we were a blender of bodies, spiders, and sleeping bags. I don't know in a quantifiable measure of time how long it took us to escape. I just remember the adults running out with flashlights, but they wouldn't touch us. We were just covered. I remember someone shouting "pull," and we all ran for it and jumped in. It was cold. We thrashed around like a washing machine agitator and jumped out as soon as we felt safe. The rest of the night was a blur. I remember getting dressed in someone's clothes that were too big for me. I remember watching the ceiling of the room I slept in all night. And I remember the next morning, looking at the swimming pool and seeing it flecked with black like leaves skimming a pond. I'm writing this from an uncomfortable hospital bed. I didn't even know that something like this could happen, so I thought I should share and spread the warning. So I moved into a new house a few weeks ago, and of course there were a ton of unexpected problems. No hot water for 2 weeks, a light bulb blowing almost every day, but the worst was the pests. A few days in, my parents and I, began to notice it. It was hard not to. For one, there were cockroaches everywhere. I still remember opening the dishwasher and gagging when I saw all of them scuttle away from the light and deeper into the dishwasher and into the pipes. And I swear to God, they try to fly towards you at night. The amount of times I've been woken up by one flying into my face. Ugh. But the worst were the spiders. I live in Australia, so I'm pretty used to dealing with them. Just leave them alone and generally you'll be okay. Because I was used to it, I was disgusted, but not freaked out by the huntsmans in the wardrobes or the redbacks in the corners of the ceiling. Naturally, the first thing I did was clean them off the roof in my room and spray my wardrobe. It doesn't exactly help trying to sleep knowing that poisonous spiders are dangling above you, or that a great hairy spider as big as your hand are crawling all over your clothes. The redbacks were my real concern. They are poisonous for anyone who doesn't know. But with no more webs, I didn't think I had to worry about them anymore. Last night, I was sound asleep before I was woken up by a scrambling sound, as well as hearing this weird scratchy noise. I felt a kind of tingling in my ear. Because I was obviously a bit out of it, I went ahead and rubbed my itchy ear and sleepily flicked on my light to see what the scrambling was about. I don't know if anyone else can relate, but an itchy ear is just about the most annoying thing in the world. You can't scratch it. I wandered out of my room to investigate this scrambling and tried clearing my throat, and it worked. Kind of. I had that satisfaction of something like itching a mosquito bite, and it stopped for a moment. But then it started again, worse than before. I could feel something twitching and squirming in my ear, and that's when I freaked out. I went and woke my mum up like a little bitch. Looking a little worried, she shone a torch in my ear before turning pale and told me to get in the car. It's probably pretty obvious to you all what happened next, but I was oblivious, so I'm pretty glad Mum didn't tell me until later when she saw spindly black legs poking out of my ear, twitching and scrambling to get out. At the hospital, I was still kept in the dark. They were pretty worried though. Finally, after a stream of people had come to inspect my ear, they told me what was going on. There was a redback in my ear. It had crawled in, presumably because I destroyed the webs, and not being able to get out. They said that at this point it was pretty scared. Yeah, that's right, the fucking spider in my ear was scared, and had burrowed deeper into my ear to hide. They were trying to figure out how to remove it without it biting me and causing real problems. In the end, they blew this kind of smoke into my ear to knock the redback out and make an incision along my ear canal to open it up a little. Then they used long tweezers to pull it from my ear. When it came out, I couldn't believe how small it was. I still feel sick thinking about that limp little spider and knowing it had been inside me. I have to stay here overnight so they can monitor any infections or whatever. I'm glad I have my laptop to type this out to get it out of my head, because all I can think now is A, I don't want to sleep in that room ever again, and B, please let it not have laid eggs. There was this guy named Mike. He was an average person and had nothing to lose, so he took these exciting adventures to various climates and environments to give his life meaning. He was staying at this hotel in Arizona, expecting to reach Mexico in the morning. It was a modest hotel. Not that great, nor run down. Just a very meh one at best. He was fast asleep in his room when he had a nightmare. It was an extremely short one. In this one, a spider apparently dug a hole and buried itself in his abdominal skin. So he woke up from the apparent pain and checked his stomach. Nothing was there, so he choked it up to a bad dream and went back to bed. After his trip to Mexico, he came back to his modest home in Colorado. After a while, he started to feel stomach pains and cramps. This happened on and off again for a couple of weeks. So he had enough and went to the doctor. The doctor ordered him an x-ray to be done on his abdominal region, just below the thoracic cavity. It revealed a cyst-like formation below the diaphragm. It was the size of a fist, so they had to remove the thing via surgery. The thing the surgeons and doctors found still haunt them to this day. They found a massive spider egg sac that was ready to burst any day now. After a few more hours of surgery, they found other immature sacs lodged behind his left kidney, appendix, and his spleen. They even found the carcass of a dead spider behind his heart, still forming a new sac. They sent those samples to labs across the country and not one scientist could determine the exact species. Apparently it works well in suffocating dark environments. The strange thing is that the doctors and the scientists all had nightmares where a spider buried itself in their skin.